Well, first, thanks. Congratulations on the series of short films here. As I wanted to ask, sort of, what's been the most common reaction you've heard about from the films here?
Sure. I think it's been overwhelmingly positive, and I love hearing from Steelers fans and Jets fans and Giants fans who all begrudgingly confess, like, man, I've hated the Patriots and can't stand they keep going to Super Bowls, and hated Tom Brady, but wow, like, I really respect that guy after watching this and seeing how much he wants it, how hard he works, how good a guy he seems to be off of the field. So I think that's been the best and most fun response.
So I mean, obviously you filmed this throughout pretty much the entire year. How much footage do you end up with? Like, how many hours of footage?
I don't know that we've done an official count, but I would, it's got to be close to 100 hours just in terms of just raw footage, because I've spent quite a bit of time, especially during the off season, and a lot of traveling around the world, from Asia to Costa Rica, Montana, New York, San Jose, Boston. We try to keep cameras rolling as much as we can across that time. So, but then it's a puzzle trying to sort of piece it together and really generate something that means, that's meaningful.
So what are the hardest things to cut when you're going through? Because obviously you have so much material, and right. Everything would probably be interesting to Patriots fans. But how do you decide what to cut?
Well, early on, I think we came up with a format in some ways, like this idea of, well, it's not just your physical. I mean, very important aspect, perhaps the epicenter of your approach and your training, but there's a mental, you watch Tom watch tape and you're like, wow, it's like he's Neo from the Matrix, in terms of how he sees the game. So okay, we could do something just around that, the mental aspect of the game. Obviously when you're with Tom and when he's not playing football, he's with his family, and he's got a big family. He's got 3 growing kids. He's got his parents who have, his mom who dealt with health issues last year, and he's got a wife who's as busy and ambitious and prolific as he is, and so there's a lot of things to sort of maneuver around, and so those became like these organizing principles for episodes. So then it influences what you're actually shooting, but that sort of becomes almost like a natural filter for what is going to end up in the pieces.
Definitely. So, I mean, so how do you develop this level of trust with Tom? Because, I mean, you hear him say things in there that, he would never tell any of us, How do you develop that level of trust with him?
I mean, it's, he's a friend. And so it's, it's no different than, what's different is who he is and what he's accomplished and all of that. But, what's not different is, talking to your friend and then feeling, trusting, again, I would always tell them, it's not going live to tape. We're not, putting this up on the internet tomorrow. We are capturing this, and we're going to then look at it and think about it and, talk about it more and do it again and stuff like that. And we'll figure it out together. So I really look at myself as a partner, in this, not some reporter who's coming in trying to sort of, capture something and run with it. So I think it's over time. And that's just the last year. As we've been making this, then there's the years before where we're just sort of, definitely closer now than we were before, but I've known him for a couple of years, and I think there's a comfort level there.
So I guess how much of an editorial say did Tom have in this here, and I guess kind of what was it like kind of trying to navigate which things you wanted to have in there and that he wanted to have in there as well?
I mean, I'd say he had a lot of editorial say, but because we were partners in it, not because he was some guy sort of legislating what he wanted to. What I also he was there when we were doing it, so he knew what we were capturing and what we were talking about. So and he's one of the great things about Tom is he knows what he's good at, and he's and he's respectful of others who are good at what they. So I don't try to tell Tom how to throw a 40-yard out. And he doesn't really tell me how to, sort of cut in the edit room. It doesn't mean that, we don't talk about it, that I'm not showing him stuff. And, I also know, when I've got something good, I'll show it to him because he can see it. He can see, oh, that's funny or poignant or whatever. And, he'll react to it. So he's really sharp. He's a smart guy. And so I would say, just a partnership all the way through.
I mean, you mentioned he could see some of those things. I guess, what was one of his favorite things that you captured in this whole process?
I mean, obviously stuff with the kids, like, the stuff that we did in China and Japan with Jack. So Tom was there as part of like an Under Armour promotional thing. And he had taken his 10-year-old son, Jack. And I think that, because at the epicenter of that thing was a father-son trip. His 10-year-old son who, I know as a dad, like, that's an amazing moment. You kids grow up fast, and like, you can never go back in time. And so he knew in the moment, like, this is special, and capturing it in the moment was special, then showing it to him, I think it, was sort of emotional for him. So I'd say that was one thing. And then the sort of on the other complete extreme is when we were in Montana with some of his teammates, Julian and Danny, and like, there's this other side of him that comes out, that's just so much fun. And I'd say, Julian in particular brings that out in him. And so we all knew, like, oh, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be fun, because Jules, like, pokes him in a way that I don't know anybody I've seen, maybe teammates in the past. But right now, like, Julian's a little brother, and he really knows how to, kind of goad Tom into it.
Definitely. Yeah. So in this last one, I mean, I think one of the main things that came out of it was sort of Tom's relationship with Giselle, in particular in regards to the retirement. I guess, how would you characterize that kind of back and forth there between them in the episode, and then from your experience kind of observing them?
I mean, they have a great chemistry, and I think that's in part because, like, they know, both of them obviously know what it's like to live under the glare, and she has been as successful, if not more. I mean, she's been out of the house working since she was 14 years old. So I think they relate to each other in a way that most people probably don't. I think, Giselle is a student of spirituality. Like, she's read a million books, and she's, practiced it in her own life and experimented with all sorts of things. Tom sort of has this spirituality at his core, like with this football. Like, it is his spiritual pursuit, but she has a way to sort of articulate it in a way he doesn't necessarily. So I think they have a great sort of chemistry, and I think she has enormous respect for what football means to him, and so there's a lot made out of this retirement talk. I don't know that he plans, on retiring anytime soon, and I think she knows that, and she respects that.
So just to be clear, episode 6 is not going to be an M. Night Shyamalan, Tom Brady's retiring.
Not that I know of. Nobody has sort of confessed that to me as yet. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I guess I heard you kind of talk about this with the interview before, but just what's your reaction to some of the sort of criticism that has come across with Tom's children? When that can't be something that you 100% expected going into this, considering.
No, certainly didn't expect it, but I'm not surprised by it, I guess. And in general, like, you as an artist, you never put something out and not expect that there's going to be, criticism. So that I do, I'm a parent and I'm a friend, of Tom and Giselle's, and so there's a sensitivity to that, and I, a part of me that just, wants to reach out and make sure they're okay. But I think they're used to it, and they live in the fishbowl and they know it. And I'm not surprised by Tom's reaction. I'm also not surprised by a couple hours later he was the guy saying, hey, let's relax and not, go overboard here, and, not like string this guy up. And so, yeah, not surprised, but, you can't do this sort of stuff, and you certainly can't, have the level of success he does and worry too much about criticism.
For sure. And so, you kind of got to join them in the fishbowl. You mentioned the fishbowl. You kind of got to join them. What was that experience like? Just kind of seeing the day-to-day, like, criticism, talk. What was that like?
It's tiring. I think, Tom jokes, he's like, oh, it's now like, what it's like. He lives with it every single day, right? It's impressive. I've been around it before, so again, it's not like something I'm completely foreign to. But again, like, being able to deal with that and then have the success. And I think what's unique about Tom and Giselle is, like, they've had success over a long period of time. I mean, other athletes, other models, other anybody, can have a great year, can have an amazing year, but like to do it across decades, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Those clips of Tom on FaceTime there when he was kind of talking about each game that just happened. Did you do those for every game, or what, just kind of tell me about the origins of those?
Obviously I live in Los Angeles, and most of this was done during the off season, and then I would sort of choose a home game here or there to be at and have a camera with me. But you just never know. And so we gave him a cell phone. And said, this is the dedicated cell phone. Set it up in your office. Take it with you on the road, whatever. And he, embraced it. I think again, there's something almost like therapeutic about having it. And my, message to him was always like, hey, just do it. Who knows? We may never use it. You may just put that, in the vault and keep it for your kids 20 years from now. I don't know, but it's better to have it than not have it. And so I think he really just, again, trusted me and leaned into this process, and I think had fun doing it. And so, and then we were able to get some amazing stuff out of it. Definitely.
How much sports radio did you have to comb through to get all those clips?
Just have to turn the radio on. In fact, there's so much stuff there, it's not hard to find. It's hard to figure out which one you want to use, whether it's on the national, through the ESPNs or FS1s or whatever, or of course it's just the local endless chatter going on. But it's classic storytelling. You kind of need an antagonist, and in Tom's life it's these doubters, that and this noise that's sort of always around.
Let's see, just a couple more things here. Sure. What was your favorite place to go in this whole thing?
I really did enjoy going to Asia with them because, again, as a dad, I was like, oh, this is kind of amazing. And, Tom is a huge celebrity everywhere, but, there was a sort of, he's, he could walk on the wall of China and not everybody, was flocking and knowing. So, there was an intimacy to that trip that I think was fun. But it's hard, Montana was just so cool to be there with those guys and so much fun, joke around and play golf and capture that. And then of course Costa Rica is beautiful and amazing, and Giselle is super gracious and warm and wonderful to be around. So this whole thing has been pretty amazing. And then of course being around Tom during the season, driving to the AFC Championship with him, it's pretty unbelievable.
Definitely, yeah. And then the last thing, I'd imagine there's going to be some Super Bowl footage here in episode 6. So what's going to be the rush trying to get that turned around to finish up this series here?
Fortunately in Facebook, I've had a partner who's values the creativity and the quality more than worrying about turning this around. And again, I think what we tried to do, I know it sounds snobby, but these are films. These are we're not going to beat anybody to somehow, we'll all know what happened with the game. To me, it's more important to sort of, really spend some time with him as he processes hopefully a victory, but maybe a loss, who knows, and to get it right rather than to get it out.
Great.